Hello, ladies and gentlemen, all around the planet. Hi, I'm Matt um, from Galactus, driving this gaming podcast called GameCast. I think the first episode in English, and in Polish it's the gośćCast edition. So a guest cast. That doesn't stick in English. That doesn't sound that good as it sounds in Polish. But 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 here we are, the first English episode, and my guest here today is Pavol Buday, a guy I've known for years now with PixelAnt Games. Hi, Pavel. Great to hear you.
Hey, hello, and sorry for breaking your streaks when it comes to number of podcasts in Polish. And now I'm the odd one here talking to you in English. But yeah, it's great to be here.
Or maybe you'll be just like the start of a new trend that I'll be just inviting English speaking guys around. So you'll be just like the first of many, and first served first, achieving their goals or whatever. But really
Let's
happy to
keep
have
the
you here.
fingers crossed. Yep. Thank you for having me. I mean, we talked about this multiple times, right? And we never kind of aligned when it comes to the schedules because you were doing other stuff. And
Yeah,
finally, I'm here. So
yeah. It's been a while. I've been running the podcast since for a few months now. It's been a few people already. But mostly what we do is rather talk about business of games, marketing, publishing, the money in it, rather than the games themselves or the development process. So I had rather the business guys, the marketing guys, publisher guys, and had a few interesting conversations. But you're the guy that kind of breaks the curve, so to say, because you've been in a few places already. I think you're probably one of the most interesting guys. Obviously, that's for certain. But then again, on the like type of different places that you worked at, I believe you're probably the most interesting person with the most versatile experience over the past, as I've seen, 20 years in game dev or gaming industry in general, right?
I stopped counting, right? I really
I,
don't.
I
I
did.
really don't
Your
know.
LinkedIn did count a bit.
I really don't know. But yes, you are absolutely correct. There has been multiple career changes, and while I was waiting for the podcast to start, I was just thinking about like what will Mateusz will kind of when it comes to I don't know like toughest decisions or something like that. I would start with that because uh, entering the games industry was the easiest thing to do. It was literally the easiest thing for me. I was started as a journalist, um, and then obviously I changed because journalism is not that well paid. I still out of the authors and reviewers and the news writers that they are still doing their work, and because I still read the news, I still read the reviews, so I highly respect them. But obviously, I was pulled to the game dev side. So I was part of a few studios, helping them with PR and marketing strategies. Longer chunk of my career, I was involved with events, and that led, of course, to talk to various people, including you. I still remember the night where we met at Digital Dragons. I really don't know which year it was. There was a party near the river, but these kind of career changes has been the most difficult. I was coming from journalism to events or marketing. I didn't know what I'm gonna do, and even now when I was going from events to back to business development, um, I didn't know what am I gonna do. So
Okay.
that was a bit scary. But yeah, I worked on many things out there. Many things are still running, and they are widely available to everyone.
Didn't we meet in Amsterdam?
Was it Amsterdam?
Yeah,
I really don't know.
I'm thinking that. can't remember what the name of the conference was. I guess it was around 2015 or so, or 14. But I do remember one conference in Amsterdam. I'm not sure if that was like the moment we
That
met.
was
Maybe
Unite, probably.
maybe so. Yeah, that the big the big venue in the center of Old Town in Amsterdam. That's really nice. But yeah, I can't remember.
Yeah.
I can't remember what was it exactly. You're just like I guess one of few or even several people that I kind of don't remember how I met or in what exact moment, because it was 10 years ago and it's always a bit blurry at some point. Not only because of the alcohol, but also because of the emotions while meeting you. That's why
Absolutely.
that was so breathtaking that it kind of overtook my mind. But yeah, I would love to talk to you obviously about your story a bit more, maybe because it was a huge story. But outside of that, I would love to have a conversation on obviously the events and Gamescom, because that's still kind of it's not a hot topic anymore. It's a bit warm, still a bit, but it was a huge thing. But I always very much valued you for more of a widespread or a wide scale expertise, so to say, on what's going on in the market. And I think each time we meet, we had this 30, 60 seconds on what's up with the industry, and they always had a very insightful approach. I think one of the most down to earth, but really in a coherent way. That's not a common thing, to be honest. I've talked to different people over the years, Polish and obviously from around the continent or the world, and it doesn't get that serious with most people. Most people are, it's good, we're good, doing fine, going forward, and so on. And you were always the guy that's probably because you were the outsourcing or guy that's outside of the game development. You were always the kind of a no bullshit guy that would say, hey, this is going bad, we're going in the right direction, we've seen a lot of negative processes going on, and that's a real value, to be honest, because I know a lot of bizdev guys, and they are also a bit more into kind of the nurturing this, maybe not lie about the industry, but the status is, it's fine, we're doing okay, and so on. And that's what I'm here for. I'm not to get an update from everybody. Are you okay? Yes, I'm okay. Okay, thank you very much. That's just too boring at some point. So I do value you with on that honesty and insightfulness. So thank you very much for that over the years. And I do hope it gets better with time. That each time we meet, it'll be more more insightful or even surprising to me. That's what I'm hoping that you kind of surprise me, hoping for your surprises each time. So can you tell me a bit about because the story is pretty long, what are the best what are the best I don't know, 2 moments that you remember from your career over the past 20 years? That's that.
That's a really long history, but first I want to say I should hire you as my hype man, because I really appreciate what you said. I should hire you as a hype man. So if I'm really sorry, I'm not up.
My rates. You know my rates, man. So
right now I'm kind of I already have my full-time job, so I would appreciate if I would be a freelance at this point. But no, I'm not on the market. I'm not looking for a job. And thank you for the honesty. I think the OBS kind of attitude comes from journalism, right? And whenever we were not researching, but because at the beginning, usually you are relying on the sources from the West, right? There was GameSpot, there was IGN, I don't know, Blues News, Worth Playing. Maybe these websites are no longer there, but they were really, it was more or less kind of figuring it out how you can actually put together a story So you are trying to connecting the dots, and especially when you are in a country like Slovakia, where I am actually currently. It's really hard because you are competing with the big guys on the West, and no one at that time cared about Slovakia, cared about the Eastern Europe. Like, hey, you are some online magazine, I don't know, covering games, and we're not going to send you anything. You just need to kind of source it your way. So it was a hard lesson in business as well. And that's why I think the sharp elbows is something that we Eastern Europeans have kind of developed because we were kind of growing up in different state. It was geopolitically, we were on the East, and the West was the world. That was the freedom that we actually dreamt about. So really, like picking up two really difficult points, I really don't know, but I think it would be a career kind of changes, or the pivotal moments this day, when after 11 years of working as a journalist and then being editor-in-chief for a website that is called sector.sk. You can go and check it out. It's still the biggest website covering games on a daily basis in Slovakia. It was really tough to kind of let go 11 years or I was working there. And every single time I was moving from something like this, it was a really emotional, because you're putting a lot of blood, tears, and sweat into it, and it becomes kind of like your baby, even though it was not your creation. But you worked so hard to actually get there, and when an opportunity showed up on the horizon, you were kind of hesitating if you should actually take it and pursue a different kind of career change and maybe learn new skill set, or just kind of stick with it because that was really comfortable. And for me, every single career change was driven by learning some new things, right? And maybe that's one of the things why I'm so versatile in so many ways. So that one stood up massively because it was partially driven by the comfortable and cushy job, but that can't sustain you when you are growing older, right? When you want to kind of settle down and have a family. You're talking about completely different kind of payments and salaries, and that's really difficult when you are a journalist, especially here in Eastern Europe. Not sure how it is in Poland, but back then it was difficult. It still is, but you still have these media outlets that are trying to survive, and basically they are surviving for the past others. But I still love the media. I still love the print. I still have some of the magazines on my table, but it is really tough job out there for anyone in media, the traditional media outlets. So I would say the career changes, those were like the really pivotal moments, and they gave you actually, it's like an anchor in your timeline, right? In my 20 plus years career, you have these kind of anchors, and it's kind of good to look back and see how far you actually went.
What about Reboot? Do you have like the the top tier moment of doing Reboot over the years? Because I'm guessing that might have been some form of a bright star on the horizon of your experiences over the years.
Reboot is really interesting, and for those of you who are listening and they're kind of wondering what Reboot is a media company in Croatia, but the kind of grand jewel in the portfolio of Reboot is Reboot Develop conference, where I helped since the second edition in 2016 or 2015. That's why I started to travel, and that's why we actually met, Mateusz, because I was shopping for speakers, shopping for companies, and actually looking for attendees to bring them to Croatia and bring them to where there is zero industry. There are zero studios, but it is really beautiful, and we wanted to create a kind of a getaway conference where you can relax and have a proper conversation. And during those years, there are some stories that I can't publicly tell. Those are the juicy ones. Those are the ones that shouldn't kind of leave the room.
You can kind of beep out the the vulnerable stuff, names of the corporate executives doing fishy stuff or whatever.
I don't want to name names, right?
Yeah, so
because,
you can say that
to,
that and that
stay-
kind of
to stay-
situation happened and that was cool. All
to stay fair. But I'll tell you a little bit of 2019, which was the peak for Reboot Develop conference. We had a keynote that was opened by a really open discussion between Fumito Ueda, who is the creator of Ico and Shadow of the Colossus and Last Guardian, and Miyazaki-san, who is the godfather of the Souls games, right? And we approached both of them for years and trying to get them to Reboot to deliver a talk, but we couldn't find an angle. And talking, actually not just talking, but to bringing someone from Japan at that kind of a caliber of a guest, it takes a lot to have kind of an angle how to approach them both. And bring them together on one stage. We had help from one of the agency, but how we brought them in was because we kind of lied to them. And we knew that Miyazaki-san is a massive fan of Ueda's work. They kind of respect each other as authors, but they never had a conversation like we usually have on meetups, or you just call someone like, hey, let's go for a dinner, and you just discuss life, you discuss your work and maybe some challenges. In Japan, it's different, right? They are really reserved. They are really kind of closed with this. And obviously, they're not going to be talking about emotions with strangers. So we said to Ueda that he is kind of interested, but he's shy and he needs to be kind of pushed to actually agree. And we said the same to Miyazaki-san, like, yes, we talked to him and they are shy. So we were kind of mediators in this. And then they met in the middle. And
Great.
we were, until the last moment, we didn't know something like this can happen. So they were both on the stage. There is a recording, but we can't actually release it. From Software put an NDA, an embargo on it. There was some, Miyazaki was talking about Elden Ring at that stage, and no one knew about that Elden Ring before. I mean, it was not named that it's going to be Elden Ring, but he was talking obviously his next game, which at that time was Elden Ring. So that's these kind of moments. I mean, there are more obviously, but what I take from Reboot is whenever you are meeting with your heroes or with like the big names from the industry, they are being called tentpole speakers, which is really weird, but yeah, this is how corporate is. They are actually people from like us. They are normal people. They have hobbies. They have life. They have life outside of games, and they enjoy the same things as you do. Good food, good conversation, maybe a nice glass of wine, and that's why it's kind of maybe even much more easy to talk to these guys when I'm approaching them. So I'm not kind of starstruck that they are, I don't know, Warren Spector or Fumito Ueda, right? So yeah, it's like this, and because of these kind of conversations and relationships, you are sometimes being invited to various events, social events when it comes to dinners or lunches. It's much more easy than to kind of, which I'm really grateful for that.
Thank you very much for that. Nice story, although we didn't hear all. Send me the video, and I'll tell everybody later on how was it. But I know that you guys had a few moments on Reboot. That there was the G2A situation on I don't know which year was it. And some other, I can't remember that probably it was 2018. What was the huge that was leak, or that was a form of an open discussion on one of the panels in 2018 that also got a bit public, that that you hit Polygon or whatever. Or can't remember what was the situation. I sorry didn't research that back, but I do know that each year you had some huge what how to call it, maybe not a crisis, but a defining moment that
We
has
had,
been
and
talked about in the industry, like because
so
again that's a very Reboot was always a few hundred people, or I don't know, 1,000 or whatever, right? But it's always been like this really inner circle of game developers. So
true.
it wasn't like that everybody knew what was Reboot, and does know, because a standard gamer doesn't. But at some point, I figured out that each year you're like breaking the headlines with the info that that this person said this and that at Reboot Develop, and so on, and that formed a discussion on Eurogamer or whatever global media.
Yes.
So you kind of broke through that glass ceiling. That was amazing, and I was always wondering what was the backstory of you guys handling different things, because I can't remember the 2018 situation, but I guess the 2017 was kind of a G2A focused one, I guess. Right or not?
I think there was. They approached us with a request that they would love to do not a talk, but they would love to actually stream it and have a. So that was really kind of a, let's say, not weird request, but from our side we said, okay, if we're gonna do it, it needs to be moderated. It needs to be led by someone from the trade media at that point. Dan Pearson was the editor-in-chief at GI Biz, and he actually did well. What they kind of didn't expect, that in the audience there will be a lot of high-profile indies with massive following on Twitter to live tweet, actually. Not live tweet. I mean, the stream was live on Twitch, but they were live commenting on what was going on the stream. And from the tour, it was a massive debacle. But from their perspective, it was like, yeah, this is something that we were kind of looking for. So they were kind of looking at it from maybe awareness kind of position, that, yeah, we will be everywhere to quote it. But I really don't know what really was their goal. At the end, they were like really happy with it. Like, thank you for the opportunity. And we were, because if you look at Twitter, it's completely different story. But every
Because
single
it
year,
turned
as
out
you
into a
said,
backslash, right? At some point, it's because
yeah,
they had a huge, or they have been having for over the years, every year, some some new guy is trying to blame them, but generally just
there were always
call them
stories
out.
circulating.
Yeah, and each year
Absolutely.
regularly it would come back, and they would regularly G2A guys would say the same story. We're just selling stuff and that's it. We're not doing anything wrong. But I think that the reboot thing was a bit different, because that was like a live version, that was not somebody stucking something on Twitter. That was a real live discussion. And as far as I remember, the live discussion on the panel was really well, not aggressive, but maybe let's say lively.
It was heated, I would say. I was in the audience. I was checking the Twitter as well. If something kind of happens, I was there monitoring this. Both parties, the journalist and the representative from G2A, they kind of handle it as gentlemen. So there were no fight, there were no screaming. But yes, it was a heated argument for sure. And throughout that day, I think this happened during the morning session. During that day, the conversation around was still kind of alive during the conference. But as you said, every single year there was something. We had Peter Molyneux actually keynoting one of the conference, and until the last moment, we didn't know if he's going to show up, and he did. Uh, he did appear on the stage on time. He delivered his talk. He was crying, and then he actually left into his room, and we haven't seen him during that conference. So that actually created a lot of headlines around media, and we kind of noticed that we need to actually bring more eyeballs to Reboot. We have to have not kind of controversy, but let's focus on something world premiere, right? As Jeff Keighley is doing, but of something of significant that is actually announced that will actually generate the headlines, because traditional media don't cover B2B events, and there is no point why they should, because there is no audience. But when someone is announcing a new game, for example, Patrice Desilets, who is the resident at returning every single year, he was talking about his career when he was creating Assassin's Creed and how actually hard it was to get back his new IP, and he was showcasing the title that he was working at Ubisoft, not at Ubisoft, at THQ, um, which was also kind of leaked, and it generated around the gaming media, because a person like a creator of Assassin's Creed do that, right? So we always had kind of a, not an agreement, but we always found someone who is willing to actually announce something at our conference and actually start building up the marketing. COVID, we were kind of sandwiched between GDC and E3. So whenever they announce something at Reboot, they can actually amplify the message around E3 and actually showcase the full gameplay or announce completely the game. So that was kind of the marketing strategy for Ancestors that Patrice and Panache Digital was involved with.
Okay. So maybe let's swoosh on a bit from Reboot, because now you're that was a big change for me. I kind of figured out that you would be doing Reboot for years and years and years, considering that that especially after COVID, I kind of thought that there would be some conferences, some events left, but there would always be a need for a casual, well, maybe not casual, but easygoing game dev conference in Europe that's held in a nice place at like the start of the mid-year rush on what's hot this year. So Reboot kind of started that conversation, because GDC kind of starts the global schedule on premieres, on what's new in the games world, and you kind of follow up on that because you got high-ranking executives, owners, head of studios talking about their games in a cozy environment, but eventually gathering some recognition in the press. And I kind of thought that, hey, yeah, that event can grow indefinitely to some extent, right? I know that you'll be around that for years. So that was a bit of a surprise to me, really.
For me, it was a surprise as well. But honestly, the COVID basically destroyed a lot of lives, a lot of relationships, and events were the first that actually hit. Right, we didn't have any product to keeps us like sustainable, and even though we had a lot of conversations with a lot of providers that, yeah, let's bring it online, but as you said, having a nice conversation in a nice place is different when you are sitting in there actually right like now, and we are actually having a conversation. It's fine, but you don't have that kind of connections when you are meeting someone for the first time, or you don't have that kind of access to people when they are not on a certain platform, they're not listed there, so you can't actually reach out to them. So immediately after clear that we can't actually replicate that. And even though we had some of the ideas on the table and we played with some of the concepts, let's bring it back in some kind of a fashion. Let's have it, I don't know, just focus on let's series of talks or series of panels, and that's going to be it. We never actually pulled the trigger on it because that felt like it's not Reboot, it's something else. Being almost 3 years insecure what's going to happen, because honestly, everyone who was organizing anything related to social gatherings or events were in it. And when we talked to festival organizers or conference organizers, big and small, no one had the answer. So it was basically global. So we couldn't ourselves. And there were actually windows between the lockdowns, like, yeah, let's do it in September. But there was not enough lead time to actually do anything. So the amount of stress accumulated, and on the horizon, there was an opportunity for me that was too good to be true. And I kind of reached out, and it was changing my life, and I'm really, really happy for that. That I took the jump, and I still love Reboot. I still gonna be there every single year. I'm still part of the team as an advisor. So if they need me, then they can consult and actually point fingers to companies and make connections. But I'm not involved on day-to-day basis with organizing it or running it. Still there, it's still part of me. I still want to be there, but there was an opportunity that I like to kind of pursue and develop my new skills, right, and find new paths. So I think this was. You're not the only one who was kind of scratching his head, like, "Ooh, why did he jump ship? What is going on?"
Yeah.
But nation of everything, and they like running events. For anyone who is listening out there, running events is the most stressful job in the world. You're working with people. You're working with so many things out of your control. That's actually gonna bring a lot of gray hair and a lot of stress. So it's trying to pursue this career. Like, good luck with you, and kind of brace yourself. It's an adventure.
Yeah, I know a thing or two about that. I guess most of the guys in Galactus too, since we've been doing that for a while now, and yeah, events are tough. So thanks for that. What about Gamescom when we are at events? Because it's
Oh man.
yeah, that's the case. I think from Gamescom, I would love to go through like the bigger analysis on what's up, because I think you're still more of an wide scope guy that who handled.
Mm.
Yeah, you were focused for years more on the global business as it was. Who's who's growing, who's this and that, and you're probably more focused right now on your current business, current company, and PixelAnt, and just moving that forward, which is fine, obviously. But these are two ways of thinking of on your regular tasks and the news, the global news. You treat them differently in those two different positions. So I would love to know your your feedback, your summary on Gamescom this year, and at least some things that kind of amazed you, and yeah, where it's heading, I would guess.
Oh yeah. Gamescom, it is the biggest games industry event, right? It is changing bit by bit. They're introducing different, they're renaming the halls. So there is entertainment, there is esport, there is cosplay, but it's still heavily focused on games industry. And I think Gamescom is an anomaly. When you are looking at events on the US side, or I don't know, in Australia, you have big fandom events that are actually embracing and celebrating the geek culture, which is fine, but which is really important as well. But Gamescom, it is solely focused on games. I mean, they might actually add more kind of components when it comes to the content to bring in kind of even more people. But it is still recognized as a biggest games industry, which is I think they have 320,000 visitors, which is massive.
Well,
And
we'll see how
considering,
Tokyo Game Show turns out this year, because I think each year it was kind
yes,
of a bit bigger than Germany, than Cologne.
they were neck to neck. I think there were few, maybe 5-6 bigger than Gamescom, but then Gamescom overtook them. And the last Tokyo Game Shows, they were like shy away from 300,000. So they are below below Gamescom when it comes to number of visitors. When it comes to number of exhibitors and how many games are there, I really don't know. I haven't looked into the numbers. And I'm really glad that you didn't ask him of the Gamescom, because I was there for the full week and I played 0 games. So
Same
I didn't
here.
have time.
Same here.
I didn't have time to play, and I believe there has been a really great amount of groundbreaking games out there. But when it comes to like where we are heading, or like where the games industry, I have mentioned GDC, that's happening in March, and usually GDC kind of kickstart the whole conversation where we are, because it's also a big event. It is a fraction, I think 10% of Gamescom, but it's still relying on B2B, and there is a lot of business leaders there discussing where the games industry is going. And since GDC, with a lot of the consolidation and a lot of the M&A that is happening or not happening, um, the industry feels like almost stopped at a certain point. That yes, deals are still being made, but they are not that impressive as before. A lot of the investors and publishers are more they are looking inwards and trying to kind of insource all the assets and resources that they have. For example, if they want to do, I don't know, like a co-production, or if they want to do add additional services to a game, from porting to localization or QA. They're looking inwards rather than outwards. So when it comes to money, it's still there. It's not drying out, but people are kind of reluctant to kind of start spending nilly-willy like it was before, right? Because there is a lot of lessons to be learned from the Embracer situation, and there is a
Yeah.
lot of eyes on the Activision as well, right? Some of are saying that yes, it's already done and it's just a matter of time when they will announce it. But until they do, we are in kind of a stall, that we are moving someplace, but we don't know where, right? And obviously, you have the traditional topics. I mean, traditional, really widespread in the media, AI, right? It is a massive topic. It is a really important topic. How we as a games industry will embrace these tools, how we will actually use them ethically, and how we will use them to speed up the production or actually create new stuff, right? So there is a lot of positives and negatives there as well. There are studios and companies that are using it, and they are applying it to various stages of, I don't know, ideation or creating kind of a dialogue structures. But there is still a lot of human touch involved in the final product. So we don't know where we will actually be in a year or two when these tools develop, and they are developing at a rapid pace. You also have an issue with talent gap. There is not enough talent on the market. There is not a lot of I would say experts that could actually lead and become the principals and the leads. Maybe in a short term.
Why the gap happened in the first place?
So this is something that just I have been in discussion with various big companies. They employ hundreds and hundreds of developers, and we don't know. There is a lot of factors involved in it. One of them being that maybe the younger generation doesn't want to take responsibilities, or they don't want to actually kind of take an extra length. Like, oh, 1 more hour to my day, and I will devote to learn a new skill. I'm not trying to say like, yes, I'm pro crunch or anything like that. No, I mean, it's more or less kind of not just focus on the task at hand, but to kind of see it from a bigger picture, and kind of understand that you're part of a team and not just like one kind of a solo employee working on everything. So there are multiple factors, but at least what I see and what I kind of understood from the conversation, this talent gap is going to be deepened in coming years from the new graduates, from the new talent that is joining the studio. There is I think lack of kind of not self-esteem, but more or less that they are not humble, and they want everything to happen to them in an instant, right? To have a higher salary for.
Yeah, but isn't that just like part of the, being conservative and always kind of saying that it used to be better in my olden days and now it's worse and so on and so forth, because it's it's the thing is that the change of the industry that happened over the past 20 years, or like revolution, so to say, it kind of happened in most of the world, maybe not US that much, but a bit too, is that the business got professional finally.
Oh yeah,
after so
absolutely.
many, because after I don't know, the 80s and the 90s, and the early 2000s, so for 20-30 years it was still kind of a job. It was a job to some, not to all.
Oh yeah.
And kind of full employment terms, because that was the case, because you would rather do that and then get paid less but do the thing that you really love. And let's be honest, it's just a really crazy and fun business to be at.
No.
And to some extent,
absolutely.
And now it's changing. Now we need rules. We need to get out of the crunch culture that kind of changed things up. But then again, I see it the other way around, is that once we professionalize, we need to have like the standard approach to working. And then again, like 80% of the worth of the business is still generated by the AAA guys out there.
Oh yeah. Not to mention mobile industry, right?
And all of that industry is like the biggest issue of the industry, because that industry, or the part of the industry, is not going the creative way. It's haunted by dozens and dozens of different issues, well, rather structural ones, and also like the perception of work and creativity, because it's just hardcore corporate, not slavery, but it's really, really close to it, because that's whatever we heard about, Blizzard or Electronic Arts or practically anybody and everybody. So the corporate gaming industry is just really, really kind of difficult to accept in what should be a modern industry that's run on creativity, right? And let's be honest, we do have a bunch of crises going along, and probably the hiring gap is out there, but it's let's be honest, like the top tier companies driving most of the money in the industry, they're the biggest slower of the industry, and have not been in a we have been in different places, but they are going through a complete crisis.
Games industry
as a whole, I think Gamescom kind of shows that. They have we had Xbox and Nintendo being on the floor. So if somebody tells me that Electronic Arts earns gazillions of dollars on FIFA, and they're kind of not able to have a booth at Gamescom, that's, again, I told that, I spoke on that last year, and I'll tell again. That's just appalling that they can't find €1 million to run a big FIFA event, or whatever the game is called right now, because I don't really care that much. That's a problem of the AAA game guys, not anybody else, to be honest.
These companies are built on an old structure, right? But when you look at the production cycle, it's changed a lot as well, right? And I think it would be easy to say it's those are the universities that they have really wrong curriculum, or that COVID actually basically broke all the supply chain, and now we actually can't work remotely or hybrid, and that's why we are forcing people to come back to the offices. It is a really wide kind of issue, and to add to the AAA, why they are not at physical events of the scale as Gamescom, or I don't know, TGS as well, or anywhere else. It comes down, they can actually reach out to the audience much more cheaper, right? So it's more or less like optimizing their what you are saying, and I'm on your side as well. It's really sad not to see these big guys over there, right? Not to see having tournaments there, or just showcasing new games over there, right? Ubisoft, they didn't showcase Mirage, for example, Assassin's Creed, one of the top franchises out there, right? Probably because they are still kind of in dealing with the Microsoft acquisition. So yes, I would love to see more and more big booths and big kind of presentation, because it's part of the industry, right? It's part of seeing flashy and really loud kind of presentation, and we are moving at a rapid pace that these big companies can't actually react to the changes that quickly. That's why they feel like, yes, they are old school, or they are like old structured. And I'm not trying to defend them, but turning a company that is employing thousands of people is much more harder than a company that has 100 developers in-house. So it is a widespread issue, and just say like where we are going, it's really hard to kind of put. And just the other day, I was reading some old magazines that I have here on my shelf. And there was a prediction of like where the game development scene will go in 10 or 15 years, and predictions that we will be controlling the games via voice and via eyes. Just like, yeah, didn't happen. We have one controller which is standardized, and we are playing all the games with it. So it's Gamescom is really important. I have to say it's really important. It's really important for the business. It's really important to see what others are doing, and obviously to meet these people brain where they are, because the whole games industry is going to Cologne every single year, and I think the next year is going to be even bigger. So if you are kind of hesitant, you should be actually there.
Let's hope Electronic Arts are there, and Blizzard, and
Sony. Let's hope, because the organizers showed, and they put massive effort into this edition, compared even to the last one that no one believed it would happen. And last year it felt like, yes, it's back. But now this year's edition, 2023, was like, yeah, this is Gamescom, and you should actually be here. Otherwise, you will miss a lot of things. So I do hope it sends that kind of a message, and companies that were kind of throttling the marketing and events budgets, they will start to, we should actually be present. We should actually have some activation there, and showcase our brand and our new projects.
Okay. Thank you very much for the summary. Because have you seen some like widespread, I don't know, piece, editorial media outlets kind of summarizing Gamescom? Maybe not on a games perspective, because it showed a lot of games, but it kind of got focused, I think, way too much on Starfield. That's I wasn't expecting that to be Starfield centric, because it felt kind of that. Was it, or is it just my vision of it?
I pre-ordered Starfield, so for me it was like, yeah, once I return from Gamescom, I'm gonna start playing it, the early access version, which is amazing. I managed to play some hours, but I didn't have. It is Starfield focus. Starfield was missed actually at the booth at Xbox. Yes, there was a theater. They were showcasing something, and there was I think one of my friends, I saw it in the newsfeed. He created kind of a mock-up of
Yeah,
future
I know.
Microsoft stand where the starship was hovering around above the people. Like this is how Microsoft booth should look like, and not the one that that was there. So yeah, Starfield was definitely a topic, especially that the embargo was lifting shortly after. Everybody was kind of expecting like, okay, it's gonna be bug-filled or it's gonna be a Bethesda game. But honestly, I didn't read that much
Okay.
news around Gamescom. So it was more or less a lot of indies and publishers running around and showcasing their games and screaming at each other like, "Hey, play our game."
Yeah. What do you think about the again, maybe not crisis, but some
Mhm.
form of it, of publishers, meaning rather the mid-core ones, because I've heard a lot of yeah, feedback that that publisher is just closing, a few divisions and laying off 50 people, and that publisher is doing the same, and so on. And that publisher who kind of always had money for different ideas, they now cherry picking and have said that they've come to Gamescom to just pick one game that they'll fund
Yep.
until the end of the year because they're out of money. And I'm like, okay, that's business. And again, also concerning the Gamescom, and AAA's, I do know that it's all business and it's all money. But I'm just thinking that something went a bit wrong along the way, or something kind of happened, because the past 2 or 3 years we had, I don't know, a total of $200 billion being pumped in acquisitions and so on and so forth,
Yep.
right? So a lot of money that kind of recircled around the industry, and now there's a saying that there's no money industry, or there's less money, or nobody's willing to spend that much, or anymore, or whatever, right? It seems like cash stopped at some point or slowed down, although the numbers of players playing games, buying games, and so on, they're still up, and the money
No,
that's
the number of users at Steam, for example, increased. Obviously, it was driven by COVID and everybody was at home, but these people are still active. So it was not you were active for 1 year and then once you get your life back, you are actually out of Steam. So number of users is definitely, and players is definitely on the rise, and we still have more and more uh, kind of hits and people brought back to games, playing even old games or new games. But the amount of content out there is staggering. When I was looking at a meet to match platform, which is an external service where you can book a meeting between those who are going to Gamescom, I would say that more than 90% of the submissions there were trying to find funding and publishing. And if you imagine that you have, let's say, few well-established publishing houses, they can't publish that huge
yeah,
amount of titles. So it's really tough out there, and especially for those that doesn't have, or they don't have kind of credibility because they don't have the track record. It creates a massive challenge for these newcomers to actually be not just visible, but to actually be seen and noticed by. So it creates like a catch-22, right? So newcomers can't access the contact to a publisher, see a really exciting title, and that might be actually the title they want to fund, but they don't know because they didn't met, right? And they're not
yeah.
going to talk to the studio or individual or a micro team because they don't know them, or they were not introduced by someone who can give the credibility. Like, yeah, you should talk to these guys. They have absolutely something that you should actually pay attention to.
Is it my
So
guess
this
that,
is
sorry to just interrupt you, is it my guess that guys, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Because I think right now that there is a gold rush, or there should be at least a gold rush for guys evaluating games, because it's in publishing houses, because it's now it's like the probably one of the most difficult jobs out there in publishing and gaming industry in general, meaning that there are more games and more games, and that just grows indefinitely. And eventually you have more factors to kind of put your attention to when evaluating a game fully. So I don't know how many people you know that are doing exactly that, because I just kind of have a handful of those. But I think those are the guys that are really having those experienced ones should be getting a huge fat raise right now, because it's again, there are decision makers, and I don't think any kind of executives in publishing houses, in big publishers or mid big publishers, have an idea on what game will work, right? You need to have a research team and somebody that's giving a feedback, and that's crazy valuable right now. It's times and times more valuable than it ever was.
Sure. What I see right now, you have these kind of laser focused picks, right? That was something that you have been mentioning, that publishers are right now reevaluating as well what they have in portfolio, what they have in the pipeline, but also what they want to publish. And they are probably here, like listening to the team, doing a lot of research and doing a lot of like where the niche could be. So some of the publishers are stopping completely investments or bringing more titles until kind of the market has a better condition, because currently the money is expensive. That's why you don't see a lot of these big investments like, hey, here's the money, take it. Are actually laser focused on specific genre. It needs to tick all the boxes, otherwise we are not actually talking to you, right? It has to have, for example, I don't know, co-op. It needs to have a couch co-op and online co-op. If you don't have it, we're not talking to you, we're not interested. So they know what they are actually shopping for. It comes down if they will actually meet the desired studio or the desired, they will actually give the studio a fair deal. And that's another kind of a topic as well, right? Because a lot of the studios might find themselves in a situation where signing even a bad deal is a way out. Otherwise, they will actually disassemble the team and they will go, I don't know, freelance, or they will just change their career. And I'll stories from my friends and indies that, yes, they are quite aware what's going on, and even when they publish successfully a game through a publisher, they have one shot. They are basically at the beginning as they were before. So they don't know if they're gonna do a deal or not, and if they don't, they will just disassemble the team. And it is really sad to see this, but quite honestly, the saturation is hitting a certain point. There is way too many games out there. I would love every single one to be published or every single one to find the audience, but I don't think that will happen.
Well, we'll have to. We're ready to make that sacrifice, as somebody said, I guess, in Shrek 1. But I think that will happen. That because I've heard the indie revolution and indie Armageddon, indie Geddon, that was supposed to happen. I'm not sure if it really
it's happening
did happen.
every year.
Yeah, because I've been hearing that thing, that phrase for years now. It's been like 5 years at least, and the indies just, they don't want to die. That's like the strange thing, and I'm not sure if we're in like the start of the process that it will eventually happen, because there's not that much space for it really. I do remember a lot of guys from the Polish game dev starting things up, their studio or whatever, back in 2015 and 16 or 17, and now they're back, because their studio failed, and they kind of returned as somewhat experienced guys that came back and started working for some mid or big company, because my adventure with indies have already ended, and that's fine. It was fun, although hatefully stressful. So I just want to do games and make fun money out of that. Also knowing that it's rather a high paid industry than a low paid one. So I'm kind of guessing if that's not the case here, is that, well, obviously Gamescom was driven to some extent by indies. The last year was too, this one too. I think it will happen the next year or two. But I'm guessing at some point we will have some form of maybe not mass bankruptcies, but a form of kind of limiting on how many games are being created and how many studios are out there, because it's the
stakes are getting higher, Matt, and you see it when it comes to budgets as well, right? So you have games 200 million or 100 million, right? Those are the AAA, and then you have games that are 2 million, and there is nothing in between, nothing. And nothing at the beginning. So this is where the publishers are actually looking at. Is it around 2 million or is it about 200? And that's it. So they are missing a lot opportunities for sure. But their team outs or these agents that are out there looking for titles, it's not massive. It's always a handful of people who are actually going to events and actually looking, or actually going through the submissions that they are being sent by indies. So obviously you will make a mistake and not to actually pay attention to a million seller, even though you are massively experienced. So in this sense, there is a luck involved. So the stakes are really high, and every single year are going to be higher. And since the industry is moving at a rapid pace, who knows what the situation is going to be next year, if it's going to be improved for the small guys, or if it's going to be even tougher, because publishers will be, I don't know, suddenly the gap between 2 million and 20 million, right? And there is no team of, I don't know, 10 that could actually achieve that without a significantly finance. And that's really hard as well.
Yeah, for me, on that angle, I think the history and the story of Cyberpunk and Ghost Runner being released almost simultaneously is an interesting topic to kind of compare that, because one game costed hundreds of millions of dollars and was created by hundreds or thousands of people and sold 20 million, and you got Ghost Runner that was created by 30 people, but with I'm not sure how much, but let's say 2 or 3 or 5
budget.
Yeah, a few million euros tops, right? And eventually sold 2 million copies. So that's 10 times less with 100 times less budget and 100 times less people. So it's, again, if you do it right, it works. But again, it's just outstandingly difficult to sell 2 million copies of a game right now, because for most indies, 50K is an achievement, a pretty big one. Any indie out 50, there would hope for a 50K sellout, and but I do know, we all know games are solid double A's or at least some form of double A title that's been done by several dozens of people and are selling 50,000 copies within like the premiere period, and they kind of expect that to be selling times and times more than that, and it seems out that the mid-sized companies are also, well, they're probably that's why we have the gap. Maybe that's the reason to it all, is the mid guys are really being hurt by the number of games that are being published out there. So the creativity that we kind of buy with the indies blood is eventually killing off the mid guys. That is eventually leading to keeping up the polarization status quo, which is not good for everybody, because I think Starfield here is, and maybe Baldur's Gate to some extent, because that's what I heard at Gamescom. That was like my top one news that everybody told me. Hey, what's up? Well, not much. All apart from that, Baldur's Gate is just another Divinity that has been greatly hyped up. And I said, yeah, that's how games are, and that's what I hear about Starfield too, to some extent. That's a great game. It's.
But you played it before.
Yeah, it's just a No Man's game, the No Man's Sky that's been dumbed down a bit and added a few new features, and that's nowhere close to being a new revolutionizing game. It's barely a good game, and that's outstanding, because that keeps us in the same spot that we've been for years, and it kind of doesn't drive business forward. So but my short analysis is that indies, you just need to stop making games, because you're hurting the industry. That's like the worst.
No,
the worst
indies
thing
need to make games, and this is something that why you have these kind of mad scientists coming back with groundbreaking ideas, and they're coming back for kind of more beating. It's, I don't know, there is an analogy to skateboarding. When you're learning new tricks, you have to fall down. So I think a lot of these have kind of resilience already built, and they're actually and over again, and eventually they might actually strike gold. I mean, you have been talking about Ghost Runner. They are actually developing a sequel, so massive congrats to them.
We had Shimon last week here, so yeah.
But for every Ghost Runner, you have a couple of other stories that actually failed, and they did everything kind of correct. They had maybe built, but the game didn't actually sell anything. Didn't hit the sales kind of estimation, right? So it is really tough out there. And as you can see on Steam, or I don't know, on in the media, or how many games a streamer or YouTubers can actually stream or actually play live. It's only a fraction of that is being developed, right? I think not every single game that is being developed is destined to be successful. And you have thousands and thousands of them being created every single game jam that is happening. Or if you just go to Itch.io, and that's like thousands and thousands of games out there, right? And some of them are groundbreaking. Some of them have really cool mechanics, and these are not going to be kind of picked up by. That's why we need to have that kind of creativity, that kind of a freedom, that you are not restricted with budgets, you're not restricted with certain theme or genre to kind of go and explore. So indie is really, really, really important in that sense.
Okay, so let's say that we kind of analyzed the market a bit. Although that's kind of it changes the narrative that I had for the past few episodes, past few guests on the industry, because we kind of talked on through the Polish perspective, and we had this report on the top 50 companies in Poland making games and their numbers, and we had the 2022 numbers on the industry generally, and what we kind of thought out together with some of our guests is that Poland is probably, or that's the headline I will write at some blog post, or will forward it to Polygon guys or whatever, because that just needs being written out. That I kind of see it in the data that Poland is the best country or nation out there doing games, meaning the best, meaning that we're doing games cheap, fast, and small teams in difficult circumstances compared to Western Europe, and they're still making millions. So that's obviously not sounding bold or whatever, but it seems like nobody's thinking of that fact in its reality, right? It's rather because we had like a really long series of articles that, hey, Poland is making games. That was a headline for like 3 years straight in every gaming outlet out there, because Witcher and Cyberpunk and Dying Light or whatever. And it seemed all fine and cool, but if you look into the numbers, it seemed that the issue is a bit deeper than it already is. And we kind of also had this summary that what the industry needs is just money at some point. That's I think that's also what Arthur Masakra has said. I don't know, on PGA 2016 is that Poland needs more programmers. The Polish game dev, that's only what we need, and that's it. Because we had, I'm not sure if you remember that panel. I hope you do. Because there was this event in Austria, and you guys wanted to have like this cooperation of Central Eastern European game industry.
Oh yeah, that was a CEGS in Vienna.
Yeah. So and the PGA, there was a panel in Poznan that you guys sat down with Arthur being the representative of the Polish industry, and at the end of the discussion, he just said that Poland doesn't need anything, right? It's that was like a scene from Matrix when they're talking, when the machine is talking to Neo. We don't need you. We don't need anybody. We don't need anything, right? That was the point. And I know Arthur has said then that Poland doesn't need anything.
Programmers.
Yeah, that Poland doesn't need the Central Eastern European cooperation.
So
that was true back then. Now we need money, but it's but looking at that,
I totally
from
understand. But
perspective,
you have to look at how the whole industry and the whole ecosystem in Poland became so big. You actually didn't need any incentives from the government, right? Games and actually the game development started in Eastern Europe mostly as a kind of because you had to actually import, and you had to actually risk maybe even your life to actually import ZX Spectrum or kind of computer that you could actually start program something, right? So there has been a lot of grassroots movements already without any external help, and from a hobby actually became a business. So it was not top down, but it was from bottoms up. And now when you have these massive companies out there, and you are actually generating a lot of and actually contributing to GDP largely, now they are starting paying attention, like, oh, games industry, it's fun, it generates a lot of money, let's talk. And you don't need them, right? And we had a really similar conversation in Slovakia as well, where we actually Poland as an example, and I think Poland is being used as an example for any other ecosystem that is starting to kind of do something in other countries, right? And it was used as a prime example where games actually can lead, how actually can generate jobs, and how it actually can create a viable career for many of the creators. It is actually developing, and it is on one of the most exciting industries to be part of. So good job, guys, I would say, in Poland with this. And to say like what we need or what you should need, it's like, yeah, you just need to grow it. You just need to nurture it and actually work as a whole ecosystem. When you have just good education and not enough output, you need to actually focus on the output, and vice versa, right? So games industry employs wide array of jobs, and it employs wide range of talent. It employs nuclear physicists, architects, voice actors, painters. It is really creative on so many fronts. So it needs to be nurtured from every possible way, right? And if there is an incentive coming in from the government, yeah, it needs to be at a certain kind of agreement, and it needs to go both ways.
Okay, yeah, well, for now we don't need that many programmers, or well, we need them, but obviously, I think we need more cash than we need programmers. I also think that we need that. That's what I've seen is more of a presence in US, being like the Polish publishers could really use some American presence, like real teams hired in US,
Hmm.
earning hard American cash and then growing like whatever we're exporting from Poland or from other countries, because obviously the Polish publishers, the small and mid tier guys are also publishing not only their own games, but also publishing games from Central Europe or just Europe for that matter. And I would love to see that happening at some point. And I know it's crazy expensive and probably will be difficult to pull through. But I kind of see it as the only solution to kind of survive in that the environment. Because at some point the AAAs will start spending all that hard cash on Gamescom and whatnot, and wherever,
Hmm.
and with probably not only Poland but everybody else there that's not Western Europe or US should be kind of considering that, taking into account and kind of preparing for that. But what the last topic I would like to ask you is contradictory to what Arthur said a few years back, that kind of Poland doesn't need Central Europe, or whatever form of cooperation that there might have been planned, because eventually it didn't happen, right? Because that's
Mhm.
the federation or the foundation, whatever, that didn't happen. And I'm right now I'm thinking, uh, is it a good point, considering all the business out there, the global challenge that we have ahead of ourselves? Shouldn't we be also thinking about some form of integration that's region based here, in Central Europe, that would kindly? I know that some of the processes are already starting with CD Projekt and Techland, uh, but I am thinking of how can we help each other with the region that we're at. That's also difficult to really grow yourself, right? Because you're not the best example, but again, there are tons and tons of people working in Central Europe that are, let's say, as experienced as you are, but will never be able or have slimmer chances of getting a stable, high-end Western European scale job secured in the gaming industry. There is some form of difficulties around the way that you can't break through, right? Even if you're the best, I don't know, bizdev guy
Yeah,
in Hungary in game dev, you will probably not be CEO of Blizzard, right? Because you won't,
for
because
sure.
there is a ceiling. And I'm thinking, industry wise, can we do something that's kind of helping each other out, that's more of a one company perception, because CD Projekt is doing their job, and that's fine.
Yep.
But I'm thinking more. Can we do more? That's because that's the question I really kind of met you a few years ago, because you were kind of a person on the line of people that I met that kind of thought bigger in the industry. And I would love to finish this this podcast with the same kind of issue that we're dealing with 10 years later on, right? Because it's yeah.
It is really difficult, not just a difficult problem to tackle, because Eastern Europe is not a country, right? Eastern Europe
Yeah.
is consisted with a couple of countries, and these countries have different political parties. They have different priorities. They do have obviously different studios and different cultures, to actually align all of them into, let's say, a global kind of alliance, or whatever we will call it hypothetically. It would take a lot of effort into it. You have, on a regional level, you do have associations that are not actually that you have studios that are not part of, right? Because they do have slightly different opinion on certain, either, I don't know, employees or certain CEOs that are running different companies that are part of these initiatives. So this is more of a kind of a political issue. And then when it comes to the collaboration, a lot of these things are happening behind the scenes, right? So there is a lot of knowledge transfer differences because organizers are bringing speakers from different countries. They are actually meeting representatives there. They're kind of sharing and maybe even kind of crying on each other's shoulders that they have different challenges, or they have the same challenges but in different countries. So in this sense, yes, it is happening. But I think you are thinking about like a more kind of a include maybe even universities or to have kind of cross-border collaborations, right? It's I think countries themselves, they are competing for job creations between themselves, right? So for example, if in Slovakia we will introduce tax reliefs, it will be much more easy to a company and get, let's say, 25 to 35% back on what you invested. Plus, there might be some additional kind of tax breaks. And if that happens, then you have kind of a slightly an edge over the others, right? Even though like the road to tax relief, I'm not saying Slovakia has it. I mean, we are far away from that. We have coming up, and it's a big mess. But if that kind of tool you have already to offer to Western studios, then you can actually start bringing talent this way, and then you are competing with Hungary, you are competing with Poland, right? Because why not to open an office in Slovakia and have few developers there and actually save on it? So,
Yeah, but let's be honest. The Hungarian studio is competing with Polish studio, right? For employees.
oh yeah, for sure.
But in the end run, uh, it's not. It's competing with American, French, German, and Asian games to kind of be afloat,
Yes,
because whatever, how many people you hire in the studio, in the end they will come to a point that, hey, we can't find a publisher for our game, because our last game, although it was great
yes,
and done on, with a great and creative team, if even it would be like the best game out there, the most creative game out there on the planet, but it was made in Hungary with 15 people, and we sold 10,000 copies, and nobody wants to give us money because they're plugging it to, I don't know, whatever is Electronic Arts or Ubisoft doing right now, and focusing on that. And they're focusing, and the publishers focusing more on French studios, or American ones or whatever, right? And it's in the long run, we're kind of cannibalizing each other, and in the end, because we kind of see it also in Poland, that we still have like 10 companies that are top 50 that are doing pretty well, right? And there's like at least 40 different companies that are doing pretty good job and are not even perceived as big companies, because they hire 30 people and are worth,
yeah,
I don't know, 10 million euros, which is basically nothing. That's the case. If you're worth in Poland, if your studio is worth 10, 20 million euros, that's something. For us in a global scale, that's absolutely nothing. That doesn't allow you to do close to anything, because with that kind of scale of business, you can't really start an American representative, hire 5 American guys working for you and selling your
yep,
game, marketing or business wise. And that's the issue I'm thinking about, how to resolve that problem, because that's an end game issue, and we're kind of being defocused on different things, on who hires more creative people,
oh yeah.
because in the end that doesn't matter really, or not to
You
that
said something.
big.
You said something there, which is super important, right? A lot of
Thank
Polish
you.
companies and the game actually being developed in Poland, they are actually marketed to the global market, and not a lot of studios, not a lot of companies are having that kind of mindset, right? So when they are developing, they're developing the game for their friends or I don't know, for a kind of a why their bubble, right? They are living, and that's a first mistake, right?
Yeah.
Because games are a payment business, and there's not going to be enough people, even if you develop something for a local market, that could actually finance it. I mean, there has been before a few cases in Czech Republic and Slovakia as well, when the market started to be kind of wide available and being out there at that point, right? We are developing for bigger audiences and global audiences, not local ones, right? And we do not have that advantage that you could develop a game for, I don't know, just a Tokyo region where you have 10 million plus people who could actually download your game and play it, right? So we are not in that kind of position. One of the, I think, big mistakes that a lot of companies are doing, they're not thinking globally at all.
Okay. Yeah, it's been a while. It's been a really nice discussion. Thank you very much for that. Well, I think we touched a lot of different topics. I'll need to rehear our talk to kind of summarize the things, because I already have a few ideas in my head.
I hope it was useful.
As always, man. As always, been a great pleasure. Thank you very much for joining us. We're not in that bad of a place in the industry, I guess, and I would hope to meet you in a lot of different places in the next few years. That's my guess. I'm guessing I think you'll be jumping ships frequently. Maybe not every year, but I kind of feel that you'll be in different places, and I'll see you in different places, and I would love to see you in the most surprising of places in the industry. So I do kind of wish you that, although you might not like it, but that's my guess for the time being.
Thank you for having me. And I would like to add, like, if we sounded kind of depressing or we kind of
don't worry. Like,
games industry is fun. Come, games industry is fun. Make games. Games industry is fun.
That's okay. That's nothing. I had Tadeusz Zieliński, who's like one of the probably one of the most known former game journalists, and you know, he also switched jobs frequently for the past 10 years or so, and we had a very emotional talk a few months ago. So whatever we spoke about today, that doesn't get close to that emotional talk. So I'll tell you on the details maybe sometime, but it's been really nice.
I'm interested.
It's been really nice. Thank you very much for joining us, for telling your story. Good luck on whatever ahead of you. And I guess let's see each other maybe at PGA, or you're not coming to PGA, right?
We'll be there. I'm not going to be there, unfortunately.
Okay. So if not, whichever else...
it will be a different event, I'm sure of it.
GDC or whatever. Again, thank you very much. Take care. Stay safe. And yeah, thanks everybody. Take care. Bye.
Yeah. Thank you. Cheers.
Bye.